Hi, everybody. It's 8 o'clock and we're ready to start recording and letting you know about Earth Expeditions, the Global Field Program, and the Advanced Inquiry Program. I'm Jamie Burkaw Anzano, and I am Director of Communications and Research at Dragonfly, and I've been here for more than 20 years, and we've had lots of cool projects through all of these years. And we're really happy to be doing this. This is our first webinar. We're recording it and hoping to put it online or share it otherwise more than just with you guys now to share about the program. So hi again, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Kevin Matteson. Hello, folks. I am the Associate Director for Master's Programs with Project Dragonfly. Been here for 7 years. I'm also an instructor in the program and an advisor. And it's really great to just share a little bit about the program with you all and hopefully answer some of your questions.
So first, we're just going to go over a couple of the things that we're going to talk about today in our webinar. We're thinking it'll take a half an hour, 45 minutes to go over sort of the presentation, and then we'll have questions and answers. But so just want to go over a little bit of what we're expecting here. We're going to tell you a little bit about Project Dragonfly, and we're going to inform you somewhat about our master's degrees. And then we're going to also let you know about Earth Expeditions and what a typical day in the field looks like on our courses. Combined with the field portion of our Earth Expeditions courses is work in our web-based learning community. So we're going to show you a couple slides of what that looks like. And then we're going to go over what the application process looks like for you guys. And then ultimately, as I said, some Q&A, some questions and answers from you all. So I wanted to start out first by letting you know, giving you a framework for a little bit about Miami University and Project Dragonfly. Miami is a relatively established and old university. It was founded in 1809 here in Oxford, Ohio. And we are actually sitting in Peabody, which is the picture below the flowers with the big M. The top is a Miami University standard photograph of the university, and the bottom picture is Peabody, which is where Kevin and I and our great tech helper Zach are sitting right now and recording this and talking to you all. So it was founded in 1809. It is an accredited institution by the Higher Learning Commission of the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools. And then Project Dragonfly is based actually in Miami's Department of Biology and the Life Sciences. And as an aside, and as we begin sort of our dive into what it is that we do and what we're hoping to let you know about, we do want to make sure you're aware that our graduate programs and our graduate classes are open to everybody from all disciplines and settings, whether you have a science background or a teaching background or a business background or in non-governmental organizations, nonprofits. And if you have a bachelor's degree, this program is open to you. So just wanted to point those things out first off.
And one of the questions we often get is about people thinking about the AIP, which is the Advanced Inquiry Program, or the Global Field Program, the GFP. So these are kind of sister programs within Dragonfly and at Miami University, as Jamie was sharing. Either program can be used to work towards an MA, a Master of Arts in Biology, or a MAT, a Master of Arts in Teaching in the Biological Sciences. The MAT is usually something that licensed teachers will get involved with, but sometimes we have people who are interested in transitioning to an educational career and might be interested in that. It does not lead to licensure by itself, though, the MAT. Both programs are 35 credits in total and can be completed in 2.5 years. You can take longer. Sometimes people who have very busy lives will opt to slow down their time in the program and can take up to 5 years to earn the master's. Other people go straight through in 2.5 years. So if you look at this diagram below, there's the GFP on the left side and the AIP on the right. For the GFP, you have 21 credits of the 35 are 3 Earth Expeditions courses you'll take over 3 summers, or as I mentioned earlier, you can extend that. You'll also take 14 credits, which are in the fall and spring semester, and those are 100% online. They don't involve any travel to an international location. For the Advanced Inquiry program, those students in that program also take the 14 credits that are 100% online, but instead of traveling for all of those Earth expeditions, they take 21 credits that are online with experiential learning at a zoo or botanical garden, of which we have several across the country that are our partners. People in the AIP can use one Earth Expeditions course towards their 21 credits. So if you're the kind of person that would like to do the AIP but really also wants to travel at least once internationally, that is definitely a possibility for you. So this map just shows all of our different partners in the Advanced Inquiry program across the country. So starting in the top left there with the Woodland Park Zoo and going clockwise around, the Woodland Park Zoo is in Seattle, Washington, and then we have the Chicago Brookfield Zoo, the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. The colorful W there is for the Wildlife Conservation Society in New York City, which includes the Bronx Zoo, the New York Aquarium, and several other institutions. The Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, which is about 45 minutes from Miami University, where Jamie and I are right now. And the Missouri Botanical Garden is our first botanical garden that has joined and is in its first recruiting class right now. So we're very excited about that. The Denver Zoo and San Diego Zoo Global. In terms of the Earth Expeditions courses, which again, you can apply one of these to the Advanced Inquiry program, or in the Global Field program, you would take 3 of these courses. We have 16 of these all over the world. All of these courses are, in my opinion, once-in-a-lifetime experiences, I would say. We often get students and applicants asking, which is the best, and we really just can't say which is the best. It's usually whichever one you've most recently been on. But they have slightly different focus points, so you might consider that as you read the descriptions on earthexpeditions.org, looking into which ones really connect with things you're interested in. But all of them have the same general format of approximately 8 to 10 days in the field with online learning on either end, with a number of individuals, students and instructors.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about Project Dragonfly in general too. The mission really, we began as a science education initiative in the mid-1990s and have been really carried through with this mission that we see right now since that time. It's to build an alliance of individuals with firsthand knowledge of inquiry-driven, community-based learning for the benefit of ecological communities, student achievement, and global understanding. And a core tenet of who we are at Dragonfly and what we're trying to do, really, you'll see the logo, the Project Dragonfly logo, and see 3 words beneath it, which are inquiry, community, and voice. And those 3, sort of in a nutshell, really tell you a lot about who we are and what we've been trying to do since the mid-1990s. We began with a National Science Foundation grant back then to create the first magazine for young investigators in the country, the first national magazine, and we placed children on equal footing with adult researchers in the same publication, and it was really the first time that children were asking their own questions in a national forum like that. And we have we've had a number of different kinds of projects through all of these years, centered primarily around this mission that we see right here, centered around inquiry, community, and voice. We've engaged with many zoos throughout the country on a project called Saving Species to engage the zoo public in science and conservation on zoo grounds. And we have had many teacher workshops and graduate classes online, and where we are now is with our master's programs, Earth Expeditions, the GFP, Global Field Program, and AIP, the Advanced Inquiry Program. But all carried through all of that has been this mission and inquiry, community, and voice. So specifically about Earth Expeditions, the coursework, again, I sort of put this sentence, we've already seen it once in a previous slide, but it's designed for working professionals, the Earth Expeditions graduate classes. We really have combined a hybrid of face-to-face learning with online learning, because through the years we've learned that that was a really great combination for graduate classes, and for working professionals. We wanted this to be accessible and doable for all sorts of folks. And so the graduate credit and our master's degree are open to pretty much everybody as long as you have a bachelor's degree, as we said earlier. But the Earth Expeditions classes at earthexpeditions.org consist of sort of a work that begins in May and ends in December. And it's sort of a lot of graduate credit hours for that time period. It's 5 credit hours that take place in the summer, and then 2 credit hours that take place in the fall. But round about May is when the pre-field coursework starts, and there is a synthesis paper that our students write before they leave for the field. There are discussions online, and everyone is sort of getting to know each other in the web world before they travel together to the field. And then that pre-field coursework is followed by about 10-day field experience at one of our 16 locations, as Kevin was describing earlier, throughout the world. And that's jam-packed with all sorts of awesome experiences and learning and study and investigation in the field with our field community partners throughout the world. And then our instructors from Miami University and students who may have never met, or most likely have never met each other prior to that, meet in the field. And then after the 10-day field experience, everybody goes back to their own home institutions and work in personal environments for the post-field coursework. And there is what we call an inquiry action project that takes place throughout the fall semester. So the pre-field coursework and the 10-day experience is the 5 credit summer course, and then the post-field coursework that happens in the fall back at your home institutions is the 2 credit hour fall coursework that occurs entirely online.
So we wanted to show you all a typical day and give you some images from the Earth Expeditions courses. And we have up here Baja Field Methods course and Belize Approaches to Environmental Stewardship. These are our 2 first-year courses for students in our Global Field program. All first-year students will go to one of these 2 locations because they're really designed, these courses are really designed as an orientation to the master's program. But as we mentioned earlier, you can join these courses and other courses as a non-master's student if you already have a master's degree, or if you are just at a point in your life where you want to take these as standalone courses, that also is an option. So I want to walk you through Baja course. This is a group meeting in a hotel in San Diego. In the lobby here, the morning of the first day of the course, we are gearing up at this point to load into a couple large vans and start our journey driving down the Baja Peninsula. So there's a lot of excitement at this point, some nervous energy, everyone's meeting for the first time and kind of realizing how real this experience is, but also the enthusiasm of knowing you're not alone and that you can do this together usually starts to emerge at this point. We travel for basically the first day and a half, and then we arrive. We see a number of interesting ecosystems along the way, stop at some wonderful food places, and really get to know a little bit of the Mexican cultural elements as we move down the peninsula. But then we arrive at this very special place called Rancho San Gregorio. which is in the Vizcaíno Desert. It's a very unique ecosystem. There are a lot of endemic plants here, including the largest cactus species on the planet. And we have the fortune of working with this gentleman that's featured in the front left here, Rafael, who is helps organize this ranch, and it's been a ranch that's been in his family for many generations. He is actually a holistic healer and has studied a lot of the plants in this area that have never really been tested using Western medicine to see their applicability for various diseases, but there's a lot of potential to the plants that he's been studying and that he is working with individuals to help heal them of various afflictions. So he's just a wealth of knowledge in terms of ethnobotany and shares that with the group, which is a really wonderful experience. We also do inquiries in the desert. So we do things like transects to study plant communities. We go out and use black lights to look for scorpions and other nocturnal animals in the desert. So we do a night hike. Again, it's just a very peaceful, remote, and very safe environment, and a unique place to be in that's pretty unforgettable. Extravagant accommodations. Really, there's almost nothing I can think of that would be better than sleeping on a cot out in the desert, and you are sleeping under the stars. The stars are absolutely amazing. It is some of the best sleep I've had in my life has been out here.
Me too.
So we have different cots we set up, and people bring their sleeping bags and their mats if they want them. But all this is explained more. We have pre-trip meetings as the time gets closer. We can sort of describe these. Not all of our courses have sleeping out under the stars, but some do. And this is something that we've had people of all ages and all backgrounds, even if they've never gone camping, that within a group they are able to do this and are very excited about the experience. For the last 3 days of the Baja Course, we go down to the Vermilion Sea, or the Sea of Cortez, on the east side of the peninsula, and we really just explore the marine wildlife that is there. And there's a lot of enthusiasm as we see things like sea lions in the wild, also sometimes whales and dolphins, and sometimes whale sharks, which are the largest fish species in the world. So it's really a special place where a lot of interesting species get together. There's blue-footed boobies in the area for the bird watchers out there. So that is really a great time. Through the course, you really study the desert ecosystem and the marine biology, so you get a footing in terms of the ecology of both of those systems, in addition to meeting a lot of great people.
So the most recent course that I instructed was in Paraguay. And we do a lot of different stuff in Paraguay. We do a lot of different exploration and investigations in all of our classes. So we explored a lot of field methods. The class is actually called Paraguay Eco Leadership, and I'll talk about that more in a second. But these, the picture on the left is our students learning how to track collared capuchin monkeys. And everybody got a turn to figure out how to do it. It was really fun in the Atlantic Forest, which is where we start the class, in the Atlantic Forest. On the right-hand side is a really super simple field method to collect insects from a tree or a bush. You can see the second person from the right is sort of tapping on one of the branches, and the folks, the other three folks in that. This was actually an island in the Paraguay River, and we were just exploring different field methods. But all they're holding is really a sheet, and it's a really good way to have a look at the insect and insect diversity on a plant. It's a super simple way. So go ahead. And on the left-hand side, we're learning how to do transects in the forest, again in the Atlantic Forest. And these are students doing a field investigation when we're out and about. And everybody on any of our Earth Expeditions classes has an opportunity to ask their own questions about where they are, where they're investigating in the world, regardless of the locale, to discover what it is that they are passionate about in that area and what they're interested in exploring in whichever one of our 16 locations where they are. On the right-hand side is one of our primatologists down in Paraguay who is describing sort of a capture cage that she used to collar one of the capuchin monkeys. So it was really great to be able to be on the ground with the primatologist who was studying in that forest. We also, on the left-hand side, this is some folks journaling, and one of a big component of any of our courses is to really be thinking a lot about what it is you're doing during the day, and it's not just chronicling, the bird species or the plant or animal species that you're seeing during the day, but how are you reflecting about those species that you're seeing and experiences that you're having, and what kinds of ways might you take what you're learning in this country, in this sort of unfamiliar location, and apply it back to your personal and professional life back at home. And so we have different prompts and journal questions that relate to our course readings, that relate to what we're doing in the field, and then just personal reflection about what it is you're experiencing and how you might translate this back home. And on the right-hand side, in Paraguay anyway, as I said, the course title is Paraguay Eco Leadership, and we engage a lot with some local young investigators, and the two Earth Expedition students in the middle are actually advanced inquiry program students who used an Earth Expedition to apply it to their master's degree, but they're exploring the plant life that's found just within the park, within their local park in a city called Pilar. And our in-country partner, like in all of our course locations in Paraguay, is spectacular and phenomenal. And Para la Tierra is our country there, and is our in-country partner in Paraguay, and their main sort of office is in a town called Pilar. So there's a lot of really neat cultural learning that we do there, and then engagement with the local folks as well.
And I'll just jump in, Jamie, that this picture on the left makes me want to share with everyone that there is coffee on every one of our expeditions. So don't worry if you're a coffee drinker.
The picture on the left is just, I love, it just shows you the biodiversity on one tree. That's about all I want to say. I took it in the Atlantic forest when we were doing personal reflection, which is a big part of a lot of our courses as well. It's not often that we remember to just go and sit in nature and listen and smell and look and feel and experience quietly. And I took this picture when we were in the forest, just sitting quietly for a moment. On the right hand side, we were in a location where we were looking for howlers and native guinea pigs, and some of our folks saw them.
So one of the things that's unique about the Earth Expeditions courses is that we don't just go on these trips and then kind of all say goodbye and head our own ways. We want to continue the inspiration and the excitement that we had by meeting each other in these locations, by the things we learned in these different countries, and then use them to address specific problems that you all see in your community. So some of the types of projects we've had students conduct in their own community are things like looking at pollution levels in California and actually doing a scientific study on that as a part of that fall course component of the Earth Expeditions. We've had teachers look at which type of educational approach is most effective for retaining conservation topics. Is it inquiry-based or traditional lecture or hands-on lab lessons? We've had students tackle things like just have a passion for polar bears and want to do some sort of a literature review or find some data that's available online to assess if there's a correlation between the number of polar bears and ice melt or increasing temperatures, and to actually look at that. So this is something we feel is really, really important to take what you've gained from the field and these great experiences in Paraguay or Baja or wherever, and bring them back and start to translate it into making change in your own space. We said we would show you a little bit of the online and what that looks like. This is a screenshot showing our online platform, which is called Dragonfly Workshops. So we often have people in this program who've never taken an online course, and then we have some people more and more, those who are finishing their undergraduate or recent graduates who have had quite a few online courses. Our goal with this platform for connecting was to make it accessible to anyone regardless of their technological background. So it's a pretty, we think, user-intuitive interface, and you see your course name there. In this case, it's Baja. You would click on it, and then you would see all of the individuals in your class as different icons, which you're seeing there in all of those colorful circles there. Everyone chooses a different icon. Their names show up in the classroom view of the Dragonfly Workshop platform. And through this platform, you submit all of your coursework for the online portion of the course. So you submit your papers, you give each other some peer review, you get responses from the instructors of the course, and you also ask questions before the trip, before the Earth Expeditions. You can ask, what kind of boots should I bring, or whatever it may be. There's different things we use this for, some of which is academic, some of which is social.
And if I could add before we jump slides here, whether you are in an Earth Expeditions class or a core web-based learning community class, or a class that occurs online with field study at an advanced inquiry program master institution, all of your coursework occurs primarily through this online web workshop. So all students, regardless of which of the three avenues they decide to take, get well familiar with this online learning community.
So we just wanted to mention, because this webinar is live, if you are on YouTube and want to post a question, maybe you already have, we're going to be fielding those in a little bit. So you still have time to post a question. If you haven't done so, we also received a few questions before the event that we're going to answer at the end. But we just wanted to remind you all of that option if you feel inclined to drop it in question.
All right, so the first application process that we're going to describe is for Earth Expeditions. And we've shared earlier in this broadcast that the Earth Expeditions classes, and in fact many of the Advanced Inquiry Program classes that have field study at master institutions, you can take for standalone graduate credit. You don't have to be enrolled in the full master's degree to take an Earth Expeditions class or an Advanced Inquiry Program course that occurs with field study at a master institution. So to apply for Earth Expeditions, there's a separate sort of way to find out about the courses that have field learning at master institutions, and maybe we'll go into that in the Q&A part. But for now, we're just going to explain Earth Expeditions, the application process. So you would navigate to earthexpeditions.org. It's a pretty easy URL. And at the top of the page, there is a blue Apply Now button, and that's what you would click on after having read about the program and everything. So Apply Now, and once you get to the Apply Now page, you would fill out what we call the pre-application, and it's super short. It asks for your name, phone number if you want to receive a call back from us, your email address, and then a couple of questions about what you're interested in, what your passions are, what you would like to study potentially in the program or with Earth Expeditions. So the first step is that I'm interested form, and it's only takes but a few minutes to complete it. And then you would create, you'd follow the steps are all laid out on the apply page for the Earth Expeditions, on the Earth Expeditions apply page. So step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 2 is creating an account in what we call My Project Dragonfly. And then the third step, which you'll see when you get to the page, you don't see right now, but you'd see when you get to the page, is applying to Miami University's graduate school. So that's what you see on the Earth Expeditions apply page. For the Global Field program, you would navigate to a different site. Right now they are all separate sites. Earth Expeditions is a standalone site. The GFP is a standalone site because they are different programs. And we want to make sure sort of the lines are delineated and it's easy to understand how they're different. But you would navigate to gfp.miamioh.edu and then click apply in the, on the left there, the red apply button. And then it looks very, very similar to the Earth Expeditions apply page, and the steps are very similar. You would fill out the GFP pre-application, which is, again, a very similar pre-application, but quick. And then you would fill out, you would create an account in My Project Dragonfly, and that's, again, it's the same system, but you're creating it a GFP application rather than an Earth Expeditions or an AIP application. So you need to be sort of here on the GFP page. And then the graduate school application, the Miami Graduate School application. And very similar looking page for the Advanced Inquiry Program, but you would navigate if you're interested in applying to the Advanced Inquiry Program that has field learning at 8 institutions throughout the country, to aip.miamioh.edu and click apply. And then similar kinds of wording and buttons to press and pre-application to fill out. But they are distinct sites, and so depending on which you're interested in, you would go to one of the 3 different sites.
Cool. And because we have been asked this, I'll just jump in you can apply to the GFP and the AIP. We have had some folks who do that, and you would get your application would be reviewed for both of those independently. So that is an option if they seem like they both could be a good fit for you. So I want to go over some application tips. If you're watching this, you're probably thinking about this might be a program for you. So what can we tell you to help you along the process of application? Number 1 is start early to ensure you can get your transcripts and recommendation letters. Transcripts can take a while for your undergraduate institution to process and submit to Miami University. So make sure you don't leave that till the very end. So that is one thing. Also, recommendation letters. If you really want, perhaps it goes without saying, but a great letter from someone, it's best not to ask them last minute. So give them a few weeks advance notice. Let them know you're thinking about applying to this program and would they be willing to write a letter. And I guess along with that, I would recommend wherever you can, professional letters of recommendation. So from a supervisor or from a professor. Depending on where you are in your career, that sometimes is harder for some individuals if you've been perhaps out of undergraduate for a long time, and we do take that into account when reviewing applications. So do your best with that and read about the program. Jamie mentioned this, and she'll share some spots where you can read more to really think about it. Is this the right program for you? And if you believe it is the right program for you, to try and show that in your application, that you understand what this program is about and that you have a sense of how it can benefit your career. There are 2 essays, and this is all detailed on the pages Jamie just showed you, so you can look over those essays now, even if you're not quite at the point of wanting to submit an application or begin the application. You can look at the essays, you can begin drafting your responses, and really thinking about what is most compelling and what is really truest to your interests in the program. if applying for the AIP, many of our zoo and botanical garden institutions have open houses, and you can find that on their web pages. So if you live in any of those locations we detailed, Seattle, Denver, all these places across the country that we have zoo partners and botanical garden partners, we encourage you to attend an open house. For those of you that are early career, like maybe you're graduate, we sometimes have folks apply to this program who are graduating in May and looking to go straight into graduate school with the Global Field Program or the Advanced Inquiry Program. So we actually might have a slight technical difficulty here. Are we still good, Zach, on your side?
Let me fix this.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold on just a minute.
Yeah, we're just having a slight technical difficulty. Sounds like our audio is still going, but our
yeah,
maybe our slide presentation dropped for a sec.
Do you know where Google Chrome went?
No.
Hang on just a minute.
Well, I'll sort of, while we're trying to figure this out, if we still have audio, which it seems we do.
Yeah, we do.
It looks like it.
You want to switch to face cam? Well,
yeah, sure. Sure, that's a good idea. You guys can see us.
Hi again.
Hello. So, yeah, so I was sort of going through these different tips. I think, you can definitely spend time reviewing those essays. Getting those recommendation letters is really important. There's also we ask for a resume. And so, again, depending on where you are at your career, you may actually not have an updated resume. So you might want to update your resume. One of the questions we often get from people is, if I have not had a career in wildlife conservation, how will I fit in with this program? We actually have designed this program for people that are excited about, passionate about wildlife, and that might be transitioning into that career. So if on your resume, for example, you have all these professional experiences or maybe, but don't have much in the way of wildlife conservation, that's totally fine. That is not, an end game at all for you. But you might choose to pull out, it looks like we're back on, which is great. You might choose to pull out some information about like volunteering that you've done with a zoo or with a different organization, or even just highlight in your essays that even though you've worked in a different career, your passion for wildlife or your passion for conservation or for education, any of those would be fine. In terms of the undergraduate GPA, there is a minimum GPA requirement of 2.75. Which many of our applicants have well above that, but some of our applicants, if you are around that amount, we do sometimes get questions, and we can petition when under 275 for applicants that have over 5 years of postgraduate life experience and an exceptional application. And we do think it's important to realize that in traditional academic settings, some people do not thrive in that setting, but can thrive in a more inquiry-based format like how we have with these programs. So we've had a lot of students who do amazing things through this program, and going back 20 or 30 years when they were an undergraduate, say, they did not have the best experience. So we don't want to close the door on people that are at the right time for this type of program. So that's why we do have that petition option for folks. Okay. So this is just a sort of a final quote before we go to some questions and things that you guys might have. I've learned so many amazing things, not just about the places I've been in the global community, but about myself and my own capabilities. So what we hope for you all, if you do join this program, any of these programs we've talked about, is that it's a transformational experience for you. That it's not just, learning a bunch of facts about these amazing places. That's great. I mean, I do love facts myself. But we want this to be transformational for you and for you to grow in your confidence and your ability to make change. So that is something we really try to focus on for everyone involved in this program, including the instructors, advisors, and students.
So we had a couple of folks ask questions leading into this on the RSVP for the webinar, and I wanted to point out a couple of locations on the two websites where you can, if we don't get to your question today, for example, or if you want more information about a question that we have answered, but you just want more information, I wanted to point these two websites out. And the first is the AIP website, and again, they look very similar. So realize that you need to be on the correct website when you're looking at these. This information that's specific to the program you want to apply for. But we had a couple of questions about cost, and that there's just an arrow here that, and you can click on cost and read more about cost there. One thing I want to point out about cost is that because of support from Miami University, our international partners and our US-based partners, our zoos and botanical gardens located in the United States, because of that support, the cost for our tuition and fees is much lower than a typical graduate degree. So when you start investigating cost, keep that in mind, because you do sort of experience a lower cost. Being accepted into the program means that you're sort of getting into the program and receiving, in some ways, tuition waivers or not reimbursements, but lower tuition costs for because of that support. And then there's also a question underneath both apply buttons on both pages called "Should I Pursue a Master's Degree?" Questions and answers from our students and alums. And those are some great questions there, like how have people done this as a working professional? I just had a baby. Is this even, how could I fit this into my schedule? Is it okay to take more than 2.5 years? How did you manage things? So there's a Q&A there that's really great. There's also FAQ, frequently asked questions, for both websites. There's just a whole lot of great information here. So if we don't get to your question, be sure you check out those two websites. And here we have the three websites again: earthexpeditions.org at the top of the page, gfp.miamioh.edu, aip.miamioh.edu, and Kevin and I are both happy to talk to you all. So we're available by email, our Miami email addresses, or phone. Sometimes a phone call can answer a really quick question or help you through the application process, or just get you to a much better understanding more quickly. So don't hesitate to give us a call either. We're happy to take phone calls as well as emails. And there's the Project Dragonfly logo down at the bottom of the page. You can see again, inquiry, community, and voice. That's what it's all about for us. Okay, so it looks like Zach has handed me some questions that have come across while we've been doing the webinar. And so we'll just start with the first one that we've got written down here. How much time on average does a student dedicate per week to coursework and experience in the program?
Critical question, right? Well, yeah, I could jump in on this one, and we're just looking at other chats that are coming in. But yeah, so it really depends on your work style, of course, but this is, like we said, designed for working professionals. So I guess the easiest answer I could say is maybe an average of about 5 hours per week. Some semesters are going to be harder than others, though, and obviously some weeks are going to be harder. So if you have a written project that's due on one of the days of the week, you may be spending a good chunk of a weekend, or you may be up a little bit late a couple days of the week. But you may have other weeks when it's relatively easier and maybe just a couple hours. But somewhere around an average of 5 hours. And it also depends, like, what do you count as work? If you're talking about your posting in the workshop, that's one thing. But because so many of our students end up making their projects dovetail with their work at their workplace whenever they can, or other things they're passionate about, that time obviously can be more as well, but fits with your overall goals.
The next question, can the GFP be completed in less than 2.5 years? That, it's not, no. I guess that's the quick and easy answer for that. There is a progression that we have created of coursework, whether you're in the AIP or the GFP, and we hope that you take that progression through. As Kevin explained earlier, there are 21 hours in the AIP that are online coursework with field study at an AIP master institution, and for the GFP, 21 hours that take place at one of our 16 international locations. And those 21 hours are would be very difficult to speed up. The 21 hours in the GFP take place 5 and 2, 5 and 2, 5 and 2, and 3 subsequent summers. And it's you can take up to 5 years for the degree, but doing it more quickly than 2.5 years likely is not going to be possible. So,
and it's also we want, change takes a long time for it to affect you and for you to be able to make change in your community. So most graduate programs, highlight how short they can be, right? Like, because the idea there is like that the goal is to just like get through the program, get your paper, right? That's our philosophy is a little bit more like we want you to make change as you're going through the program. So we are aware that many people want a degree and they want to get it for various reasons, but we hope that the process is just as important as the product and impactful for you all.
And that takes a little bit of time.
Yep. Let's see.
If we are Miami alumni, is there
an easier process to get transcripts? I think it'll probably, that's an interesting question.
We would have to explore the answer to that, but I bet yes.
Yeah, we would hope so. But yeah, we don't know the exact answer. But we've had quite a few Miami alumni in the program. So there have been people that did that, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, just check it out. And if you get stymied or have any trouble, let us know. We can help with it.
I would expect that it would be occur much more quickly than if we were getting it from another institution. Good question.
Cool. There's one here about MA versus MAT. I touched on that a little bit. And one thing I should just say is that if you're totally on the fence, I guess the easiest way to answer that is MAT is great, usually for our teachers, people that are already teachers and are licensed educators in a formal classroom setting. But the thing I do want to share is that you can actually change degrees once you start this program. So in some ways, if you're not sure right now, should I go MA? Is that the best career route for me? I kind of want to be an educator maybe. Maybe you're thinking about that. You can go on your first course and talk with your instructors and your classmates, and you can submit for a change after that once you've understood a little bit more about it. So yeah.
Another question that I see is that we haven't said much about the AIP. Hopefully we've when you review it, we've said a little bit about the AIP as much as GFP. One of the reasons we concentrated for this webinar on Earth expeditions in particular is that Earth expeditions can be used for both degrees. And so we sort of couched the webinar in the Earth expeditions language and then hopefully described both degrees. And there was an earlier slide that you might want to revisit about the AIP and the GFP that Kevin talked about. But you say you've read as much as you can find, but I wonder if we can discuss the benefits and differences between the AIP and the GFP.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you asked that because I had noted to say something about that and then didn't get a chance to do it. But The AIP is an absolutely is an unbelievable program. So it's city based.
We have more students in the AIP
Right.
than we do in the GFP.
Yeah, it's so if you happen to be in any of those cities where you have an AIP institution, I would definitely seriously consider it. And we've even had students drive, up to 2 hours, 3 hours to get to, say, Chicago Brookfield Zoo, because they were so excited about that program. So what the AIP does is it really gives you a chance to network with people within that city or region, and really make local connections, because all of the courses are built around the local context of that place, that city, and that region. So if you're at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, you're going to get a chance to experience all these great things in Cleveland, along the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. You're gonna get to really explore areas, wildlife refuges in the area, people working there that you can connect with. So that, I think, is one of the great strengths of the AIP. And like Jamie said, you can also go on One Earth expeditions if you want. For the GFP, that's more for people that are not in one of those cities or are in one of those cities, but really are really fascinated by global travel and wanting to have these intercultural experiences, and maybe they're at a point in their life where that's easier, and they can really do that, and they want to have those experiences. So yeah, they're both really impactful programs, and definitely worth really looking closely at them. Maybe going to an open house for the person that asked that, or email us and we can share more with you.
When we created the program, back in the early 2000s, back in the earlier days of Dragonfly, we were doing strictly online teacher workshops. And what we learned from that is that we really wanted a hybrid. We really wanted to merge the online learning with face-to-face learning, which is what our traditional professors here at the university were doing. And so we really wanted to merge those two experiences. And what we created prior to the master's programs was Earth expeditions, and back then it was the field expeditions, which were the international, and we went to Namibia, Costa Rica, and Trinidad that first year. We no longer offer Trinidad, but we have 16 countries that we go to now. But that first suite of 3 classes, and that is sort of, in effect, what turned into the GFP, the Global Field Program. But at the same time, we were offering 3 classes with field experiences at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, which is very, very close to Miami University in Cincinnati. Habitats, Adaptations, and Evolution, Plants and People, and Primate Behavior and Conservation. And so right alongside those 3 international classes were the 3 classes that we were also offering with field experiences at the Cincinnati Zoo. And this one turned into the Global Field Program, and this one turned into the Advanced Inquiry Program. So we have been committed to, that both kinds of learning for a very, very long, since the beginning of the program. And we did a couple of studies and some surveys and research back then, and we found that not everybody wanted to travel internationally for 3 summers, or for 3 summers within a span of 2.5 to 5 years. And they wanted to be connected to their local learning institutions, their zoos, their museums, their botanical gardens and aquaria. And so in creating all of the Earth Expeditions classes, the field and the zoo expeditions, we knew we needed all 6 kind of those experiences. And now, of course, we've grown into the whole master's program, the Global Field Program in 16 countries, and the Advanced Inquiry Program with those field learning experiences in 8 locations throughout the country.
Cool. So let's see. So we have a few other questions. How many students are accepted into each program every year? For the GFP, it's ranged anywhere from about 90 to 130 or so students, so it's a pretty large program. For the Advanced Inquiry Program, it depends on the location where you are. Some of the zoos and the botanical gardens accept anywhere usually between about 20 and 30 or 35 students for each of those institutions. Let's see, we have another...
If I could add, we have about 1,000 graduate students in the program, current graduate students in the program. And as I said before, there are more Advanced Inquiry Program students than there are global field program students. It's about 600, 400.
Yeah, it's kind of an amazing thing now where we have a map showing where everyone is, students and alumni in the program, and it's pretty much filling in the United States and many other parts of the globe. So the good thing about that for you all, if you're thinking about it, is it does create a lot of networking opportunities for you. If you're thinking about career change or jumping to a different city, there's usually Dragonfly folks in those areas that are very excited to connect.
Yeah.
What do we have here?
Should the letters of recommendation be submitted in a particular format? When should these be submitted?
So the entire application is due January 28th for Earth Expeditions and for the Global Field Program, and February 28th for the Advanced Inquiry Program. So I would definitely shoot to get your letters of recommendation in well before those two due dates. But that's really the only requirement in terms of timing. In terms of format, what happens when you go into the graduate school application through Miami is that you'll put in the email address and name of someone who you want to have a recommendation. Obviously, you want to write them beforehand, but that'll trigger an email to them with a link to how they can submit to us. And we do recommend that they follow those prompts and submit some sort of usually a Word or a PDF upload of a letter for you.
And in terms of the sort of three pieces, the three steps that regardless of the site that you go to and a program you want to apply to, those three steps, the pre-application, the My Project Dragonfly account is different. There was a question, it's do we need separate accounts in My Project Dragonfly? Oh, it's sort of related to that. Separate accounts in My Project Dragonfly for the Earth Expeditions and the GFP. So you do the pre-application, you create an account in My Project Dragonfly, and I guess the answer to that question about whether you need separate accounts in My Project Dragonfly depends on what you're interested in. If you are interested only in taking one Earth Expeditions class, you would go to earthexpeditions.org and fill out the pre-application for that, and a My Project Dragonfly account for that, because earthexpeditions.org requires an abbreviated application to Miami's graduate school, and the full master's degree application is a little bit more involved process with letters of recommendation, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're interested only in Earth Expeditions, I would suggest filling out the Earth Expeditions pre-application and going to that apply page. If you're not sure, I would suggest maybe filling out both applications, because for the GFP, for the full master's, there are more steps that you need to take. So I would suggest let's sort of go with that for now, and we would put you in the right system if we needed to move you ultimately. But the GFP the master's application is more involved.
Yeah, and we have a team that looks at all this and will help usher you guys through this process if it's a little confusing. Let's see, we have a I work night shifts question and asking about the online courses and when they meet and if there are live online courses. So actually the way we have it currently set up is that all of the coursework that's online is asynchronous, meaning you submit whenever you can, right? You're never required to attend any sort of live timing event. So it's actually built just for people in your circumstance or in similar circumstances where you might have time during the week. You don't know when exactly, but you think you're going to have time to do this. So you decide when you have that time. So you should be able to work it out. And then are acceptance decisions sent out at the same time, or is it possible to know your decision earlier? Oh, we would love to, and we know you guys would love to know earlier, but the way the workflow goes on our end, it's been difficult for us to do that. We've contemplated it, doing that at some point, but right now we don't have that option, so you just have to wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe somewhere down the road we might try that, but right now it's not quite possible.
So you can find the dates, on each of the sites depending on which program you're interested in.
Let's see, did we miss anything? I feel like we're coming up on about an hour, and I'm sure people have things to do. But let's see if there's anything else we want to answer. Or
One of the questions that we got earlier was about having trouble finding the websites on the Miami University website. And I know we had also a question about accreditation earlier, and hopefully we answered the accreditation question on one of those early slides. But you can access our sites from obviously straight to the websites that we've given you here in this presentation. But if you want to sort of go to the Miami site and get to us that way, that's possible too. Just so you can have that connection to the main university site. And what you would do is go to miamioh.edu, which is the main Miami University website. And in the search bar, just type the word biology, and you'll go to the biology homepage for the biology department. And at the biology homepage, click Graduate Studies. And we are on that page, on the Graduate Studies homepage of the biology department at Miami University.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you would get through the university's website to us.
there's a cool question. There's this one that says details on making this program work as a working parent. And maybe this will be, this is great. It's so wonderful. I have kids. Jamie has kids. We have a lot of working parents in this program. We have a lot of people who get married during the course of the program, have a lot of life changes, change careers, end up having babies. The program is really built for people like you, so don't let that stop you. And in terms of making it work, we all just try to hug and hold hands and find time when we can. It's been great going to Baja and Belize and these other locations and be with a bunch of other parents who are missing their kiddos.
Yeah.
And it's really special.
We get through it together.
We get through it, and your kids are like, wow, moms and dad are like, or off having these adventures, and it's really inspiring for them too. If you have more questions about that, feel free to write us.
Or mom is going to the zoo to do a study about,
That's right.
visitor relationships with primates, or it's a really cool thing. And if you go to should I earn a master's, that question on the left hand side of each of the AIP and GFP homepages, you'll see answers not just from us but from students who are letting you know how they did it, or pretty much they say go for it. We've had a lot of really really awesome folks in this program, and we hope you apply. I hope that we've given you enough information, and we've given you our names and phone numbers and email addresses, and you have the web addresses. So hopefully you can, if you can't find your answer, give us a call, and we'll see what we can do. Try to answer it for you.
Definitely reach out whenever. We're here to answer your questions. We know it's not a typical graduate program the way it's set up. It's a little bit confusing, but it's also has a lot of benefits. So we'll look forward to hearing from you guys, and thanks so much for joining and being a part of this.
Thanks a lot.
All right, take care.
All right.